Have you ever felt like you've hit absolute rock bottom, where the floor gives way and there's nowhere left to fall? It feels like the end. But what if I told you that this place of absolute despair isn't a grave, but a launchpad? What if the very impact of hitting the bottom is what gives you the power to bounce back higher than ever before? In this video, we're exploring the hidden science behind why your lowest point is your greatest opportunity. Welcome to VF Growth Tutorials. We've all heard the comeback stories. The entrepreneur who lost it all before building an empire. The artist who faced rejection before creating a masterpiece. These aren't just feel-good tales. They're demonstrations of a powerful psychological principle. Hitting rock bottom strips away everything that isn't essential. It removes the ego, the fear of failure because you've already failed, and the external pressures to be something you're not. It leaves you with a raw, unfiltered version of yourself and a foundation of solid ground from which to build. Today, we're not just going to talk about this concept. We're going to break down the mechanics of this spring effect and show you how to harness its power for your own transformation. If you're ready to reframe your struggles into strengths, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more insights on unlocking your potential. The psychology of rock bottom, deconstruction of the self. Let's begin by dissecting the experience itself. Hitting rock bottom is a profoundly disorienting event. It's more than just a bad day or a setback. It's a fundamental crisis of identity. For many of us, especially high achievers, our sense of self is intricately woven with our careers, our financial status, our relationships, or our social standing. When that external scaffolding is violently torn away through a job loss, a business failure, a divorce, or a major health crisis, we are left feeling naked and undefined. This is the stage of deconstruction. The initial phase is often characterized by shock and denial, a cognitive refusal to accept the new reality. This is quickly followed by a cascade of intense emotions: anger, shame, grief, and profound despair. You might find yourself replaying events, consumed by what-ifs and so. This painful looping is your mind's desperate attempt to regain control in a situation that feels utterly uncontrollable. However, something crucial is happening beneath this emotional turmoil. Your ego, the part of you that craves validation, status, and control, is being systematically dismantled. The ego thrives on external markers of success. When those markers vanish, the ego has nothing left to cling to. This ego death is terrifying, but it is the most critical component of the launchpad. It forces you to ask the most fundamental question: without my job, my money, my title, who am I? This is not a question you can answer intellectually. It's one you are forced to answer existentially. The silence that follows this question is where the real work begins. You are no longer performing for an audience. You are no longer living up to a set of expectations imposed by society, family, or even your younger self. All the illusions, the pretenses, and the shoulds are burned away. What remains is the bedrock of your character. It's an involuntary, radical audit of your life. This process forces a confrontation with your deepest fears and your most authentic values. It's an uncomfortable but necessary purification, clearing out the debris of a life that was perhaps built on a fragile or inauthentic foundation. You start to see the world and your place in it with a stark, unfiltered clarity that is impossible to achieve when you're comfortable. This deconstruction isn't about destruction. It's about excavation. You're digging down to the layers of who you thought you were to find who you truly are. The spring effect, forging resilience in the fire. Once the deconstruction phase begins to settle, the spring effect starts to engage. This isn't just a metaphor. It's rooted in the principles of antifragility and neuroplasticity. The human mind and spirit are not like fragile glass, which shatters under pressure. They are antifragile systems that can actually get stronger when exposed to stressors and shocks, provided there is adequate time for recovery. When you are at rock bottom, you are operating in a state of high-stakes problem-solving every single day. The simple act of getting out of bed, making a difficult phone call, or facing the day requires a level of mental fortitude you may not have known you possessed. This constant engagement with adversity literally forges new neural pathways in your brain. You are building the muscle of resilience. Consider the story of Dr. Eris Thorne, a brilliant historian who had dedicated 2 decades of her life to securing a tenured position at a prestigious university. Her entire identity was Professor Thorne. Then, a devastating round of budget cuts eliminated her entire department. She lost her job, her research, her life's work. This was her rock bottom. For months, she was lost. But then, she started noticing a gap in the market. Corporations, filmmakers, and novelists often needed expert historical consultants, but didn't know where to find them. Using the deep knowledge she had, she started a small consultancy. The skills she'd honed in the cutthroat world of academia, rigorous research, compelling arguments, grant-writing were perfectly transferable. She was tougher, more resourceful, and more business-savvy than she ever imagined. Her firm exploded in success. Dr. Thorne later said, "Losing my tenure felt like a death sentence, but it freed me from the singular, narrow path I was on. I was forced to become an entrepreneur, a marketer, a CEO, roles I never would have chosen, but roles that unlocked a potential I never knew I had." This is the spring effect in action. The pressure of her situation compressed all her latent skills and untapped potential until they had no choice but to expand outward with explosive force. The fire of her failure didn't consume her. It forged her into something stronger, more versatile, and ultimately more successful. If you're finding value in understanding how challenges can physically and mentally reshape you for the better, do me a quick favor and tap the like button. And if you haven't already, click subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into personal growth. Part 3, the launchpad, the gift of a clean slate. One of the most terrifying aspects of hitting rock bottom is the feeling of having lost everything. But within that loss lies a profound and liberating gift, a clean slate. When you are comfortable and successful, change is incremental. You make small adjustments. You optimize. You tweak. You are constantly trying to improve the existing structure. But when the entire structure collapses, you are given the rare opportunity to redesign your life from the ground up, based not on past momentum but on present wisdom. Think of it like this. You're no longer just renovating the house. You've been handed a clear plot of land and a new set of blueprints. This is the launchpad. The clarity that comes from this position is unparalleled. When you have nothing, your priorities become crystal clear. The superficial concerns that once consumed your mental energy, office politics, social status, keeping up with the Joneses, you are left with the essentials. Your health, your core relationships, your integrity, and your will to survive. This is where you can rebuild with purpose. Take the case of Leo Vance, a celebrated tech CEO. His startup was the darling of Silicon Valley, until a market shift and a few bad decisions led to a spectacular bankruptcy. He lost his company, his fortune, and many of his friends. At his lowest point, he realized his relentless pursuit of success had cost him his family and his health. He was a stranger to his own children, with the external pressures gone. He spent 6 months doing nothing but reconnecting with his family and rediscovering his passion for coding. not managing. He didn't try to raise capital for another billion-dollar idea. Instead, he started a small, bootstrapped software company with a close friend, building a tool he was genuinely passionate about. The company was a fraction of the size of his last one, but it was profitable, stress-free, and allowed him to be home for dinner every night. He was happier and more fulfilled than he had ever been as a high-flying CEO. His rock bottom wasn't a failure. It was a course correction. It was the launchpad that propelled him not to greater heights of fame or fortune, but to a life of genuine meaning and contentment. This is the power of the clean slate, the freedom to redefine success on your own terms. Actionable strategies, building your rebound mechanism. Understanding that theory is crucial, but turning that understanding into action is what builds the launchpad. So let's get practical. Here are 5 actionable strategies to build your rebound mechanism when you find yourself at the bottom. First, practice radical acceptance. This concept, drawn from dialectical behavior therapy, is about acknowledging and accepting your reality without judgment. Stop fighting what has happened. You cannot build on a foundation you refuse to see. Acceptance is not passivity. It is the prerequisite for purposeful action. Say it out loud. This is my situation right now. Only then can you begin to ask, what is my next right move? Second, conduct a life audit. With the noise of your old life silenced, you have the quiet space to reflect. Grab a notebook and be brutally honest. What parts of your old life were genuinely fulfilling? What parts were you tolerating? What were your non-negotiable values then, and what are they now? This audit will become the blueprint for the life you are about to build. Third, embrace strategic skill acquisition. Identify one skill that aligns with the new direction you've mapped out in your audit. This isn't about a massive career change overnight. It could be learning how to manage a budget, taking an online course in digital marketing, or learning a new programming language. The act of learning restores a sense of agency and forward momentum. It proves to your brain that you are not static. You are growing. Fourth, harness the power of your confidence is likely shattered. Don't try to build Rome in a day. Your goal for today might simply be to update your resume, make one networking call, or go for a 30-minute walk. Each micro goal you achieve is a small deposit into your confidence bank. These small, consistent wins create a positive feedback loop that builds momentum, transforming inertia into action. Finally, build your personal board of directors. You cannot do this alone. Identify today's 5 people who represent your new values. This isn't necessarily your old friends. It might be a mentor, a former colleague you respect, a family member who offers unwavering support, or even a therapist. Be intentional about who you allow to speak into your life during this critical phase. You need builders and believers, not critics or doubters. These 5 strategies: radical acceptance, life audit, skill acquisition, micro goals, and your personal board are the practical steps that turn the theoretical launchpad into a functional reality. These strategies are the nuts and bolts of your comeback. If this practical advice is what you came for, let me know by hitting subscribe and turning on notifications. We release content like this every week to help you on your journey. Part 5, The Hidden Science of Post-Traumatic Growth. Pete, to truly anchor this concept in our Hidden Science playlists. Let's talk about the formal psychological theory that underpins everything we've discussed. Post-traumatic growth, or PTG, coined by psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun. PTG is the positive psychological change experienced as a result of adversity and other challenges in order to rise to a higher level of functioning. It's crucial to distinguish PTG from resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back to your previous state of normal functioning. PTG is about bouncing forward. It's about emerging from the struggle as a more developed, capable, and fulfilled individual. Tedeschi and Calhoun identified 5 key domains where this growth typically occurs. First, a greater appreciation of life. People who have been through the ringer often report a profound shift in their daily perspective. The small things they once took for granted now bring immense joy. Second, improved relationships with others. Deep struggle reveals who your true allies are, leading to more meaningful and authentic connections. It also often fosters a greater sense of compassion for others who are suffering. Third, identifying new possibilities for one's life. As we saw with Dr. Thorne and Leo Vance, hitting rock bottom can shatter the illusion of a single, linear life path, opening up new avenues and possibilities that were previously invisible. Fourth, a greater sense of personal strength. Surviving your worst-case scenario provides an undeniable piece of evidence. If I survived that, I can handle anything. This creates a deep, unshakable sense of self-reliance and inner strength. And fifth, spiritual or existential development. For many, a crisis forces them to grapple with the big questions of life, leading to a more well-defined spiritual or philosophical framework and a clear sense of purpose. Understanding PTG is empowering because it reframes your struggle. It's no longer a random, meaningless catastrophe. It is a known psychological process with a predictable set of positive outcomes. If navigated correctly, your pain is not just pain, it is the raw material for growth. Your rock bottom is not a pit. It is a crucible, scientifically proven to be capable of transforming you into something more. So, as we've seen, rock bottom is not the end of your story. It is the solid, unshakable foundation upon which you can build a stronger, more authentic, and more purposeful life. It's a psychological crucible that burns away the non-essential and forges the steel of your character. By understanding the psychology of deconstruction, the science of resilience, and the principles of post-traumatic growth, you can transform your lowest point from a painful memory into your most powerful asset. You have the springs built within you. It's time to use them to launch. What was one lesson you learned from your own rock bottom moment? Share it in the comments. Below your story could be the spark someone else needs. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to VF Growth Tutorials for more deep dives into personal transformation, and share this video with anyone who needs to hear that their lowest point is just the beginning of their greatest chapter.